What's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen. Get some.
Only sport we got left white people's NASCAR. That's us. That's our shit. Ain't nobody getting in NASCAR. That's all us. Ain't no other race even trying to get in car racing. That's all us, you know. Asians, they can't even drive on a normal road. They cannot get in car racing. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. That race gonna make the first turn and it's a 30-car crash. God damn it, Lee! I saw it! I know Titan. I don't have good pit fuel. Don't take this shit part. I don't see no Asians out front doing donuts after the show. I could drive, bitch! I could drive! Black people, you can't give a black person, especially a brother, you can't give a brother a car that cost $500,000 and then tell him to go fast and he might crash. That brother's gonna be pimping around that track. Boom, boom, boom. Brothers giving shout outs and shit. Daytona, Daytona. Can you see a brother pulling the pit? Don't change shit. Just shine it up. Shine it up. Yeah, shine my shit. Shine that. Brother be cutting across the grass, save gas money. Where the fuck is Jackson going? Where is Jackson going? You know, car racing, that's all about sponsorship. Ain't nobody gonna sponsor a black car racer. Who is sponsoring a black car racer? FUBU? Hennessy? S-Curl? Big afro on the hood. Mexicans ain't getting in car racing. No. They pull in the pit. Nobody's in the pit. Everybody's in the car. You think a Mexican car racer? That mug pulls into the pit. Go take the tire. God damn it, I can't, fucker!
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. You can listen to this on iTunes. Just search Gary Owen, hashtag Get Some, or search United We Cast, or you can get it on YouTube, youtube.com/Gary Owen.com. I had a good New Year's. I was in, last week I told you I was in Chicago, it was freezing. Then I went to Detroit on December 30th, and it was cold, but it wasn't like Chicago. And then New Year's Eve, I was in Dallas, Texas at the Verizon Theater. And we sold every show out. Every show was sold out. So I did the math. I think approximately 12,000. I think 12,000 people saw me in 4 days, which is good. That's a lot of people to make laugh. I was working so much, 3 cities in 4 days. I just told my agent, I said, yo, I want off the first weekend of January. Just so I didn't want to do anything. Plus, it's the first week of the playoffs in the NFL, which really I should have taken off the second week because the wild card's great. But that second week, to me, is the best week of football other than the Super Bowl because you got 4 games and you got the number 1 and 2 seed always playing. So to me, I should have waited and got the second week of January off. So now the second week of January, I'm in Baltimore, January 11th to the 14th. And it always reminds me of 2 years ago when the Bengals was the 3 seed and the Steelers got into the 6 seed. And we all know what happened during the game. But my thing was the only game I wasn't going to be able to watch all the way through was the late game Saturday. And what the hell? The Bengals and Steelers become the late game Saturday. I said, what are the chances? What are the chances? I didn't want to work that weekend. I get offered to roast Alabama and Clemson. They were playing for the national title out in Phoenix. And the game was Monday, and they wanted some comedians. It was me, Anthony Anderson, Faison Love, excuse me, a couple other comics. And I was just thinking, okay, the show was booked 2 months in advance. And I was just thinking, okay, no problem. As long as the Bengals aren't that late game Saturday, I'm good. And when that schedule came out, I go, no way. There's just no way. It's the late game Saturday. I couldn't believe it. So it is what it is. I'm going to get into the playoffs in a second. But me and my wife went to Vegas years ago to see a title fight. And we were young and we didn't know that you can't. A lot of the fights back then, this is like early 2000s. I'm not going to say the fighters. And you'll know why I'm not giving out the fighters' names when I get done with the story. But we didn't know that they don't show the fights in the casino. because you bet on them, and I guess the fights are at a casino. So you literally we had to drive and find a sports bar off the strip that was just showing this fight. So we're sitting there, and it was funny because we got there early. I like to watch the pre-fights. And my wife's just sitting there, and then these like 2-3 black guys walked in, and they looked like gangbangers. And everyone was like looking at me, oh, where are they going to sit? And then I make eye contact with the dude, and I like gave him the opening, like, dude, you want to sit down? So the guy sat with us, and we start cutting up and just talking about fighting. And they were from LA and everything. And I asked them what they were doing there, and they said they first they didn't tell me. Then they said they brought some girls, like working girls, to work fight weekend. And that's a part of big fight weekend that they don't ever show. Let me tell you something. Prices go up with hookers and strippers. They said Tyson brought so much money to that economy when he was at his heyday. Pussy went up from like $50 to $500, from $500 to $5,000. So we're sitting there, and we're getting ready to watch this fight. And one of the guys goes, "Hey man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. You seem cool." He was like, "One of our girls sucked so and so's dick last night." And I was like, "What?" So one of the girls that they brought ended up sucking off one of the fighters in this title fight. I said, "I'll be right back." I ran down to the casino and bet $1,000 on the other guy. And my only regret is when you bet in Vegas, you can go KO 1 through 4, KO 5 through 8, KO 8 through 12. Or you can put decision or just win. I just picked for the guy to win. And the guy that got his dick sucked got knocked out. I should have been on a knockout in a certain round. But great investment that day. Appreciate those gangbangers. Hashtag pimp. Hashtag got Gary Owen to hook up. I think I got a straight up bet with that. So I think I bet 1,000. I won 1,000. It was like a straight up bet. But when I tell you I was running, because by the time he told me, they were getting ready to do the fight announcement. Like, they were waiting for so-and-so to come to the ring than the other guy. And I was like, I got to get down there. I ran back. I remember I came back. My wife just looked at me like, "Where'd you go?" I was like, I had to put $1,000 on him. Oh, God. Whew. I only had to wait like 15 minutes and my investment came through. It was great. And then I remember I was thanking the guys. And then the guys paid for our drinks and our food because we were cool with them. So they bought all our stuff. So they ended up being real cool guys. And then when it was funny, when we was leaving, me and Kenny was waiting on a cab, my wife, and we're waiting on a cab. And the guys got in this like big, like Lincoln Navigator or Chevy Tahoe, one of those big SUVs, and they had TVs in it. And there was like lighting underneath it. Like they drove that car from LA and they had it souped up. And I was like, man, look at that, Kenya. They got their shit together. And I was hyping them up like they was cool and blah, blah, blah. And then, so the guys take off. They were cool, by the way. And I'm just thinking they got their shit together. They balling out this week in Vegas. So we're headed back to our hotel. And I think we were staying at like the Hilton or like the Luxor, like a nice hotel, but nothing crazy. And I remember we drove by like a Super 6 and there were the guys parking. And my wife was like, "Got they shit together, huh?" And I was like this, I go, "They're keeping the girls in the Super 6, but they're probably at the Cosmopolitan." But I remember thinking, "Oh, those guys got their shit together. They doing it big. They doing it right." So little did I know, but man, that's still my favorite fight in Vegas. That's still my favorite fight in Vegas. And the guy that won that fight is still my favorite fighter to this day. That reminds me whenever I was doing one of my comedy specials in Vegas called True Story. I was shooting in Vegas, and Winky Wright came in town to go to my special, right? And if you watch the special, the intro to it, Winky's with me, like I'm walking into the casino, and I have my cousin with me, I have my road manager Brad, my opener that opened for the show, and then Winky was with me too. And I told Winky, I go, "Hey man, get in this shot." I just want people to be like, "Is that Winky Wright?" And it was funny because we filmed it at the Mandalay Bay, that special. And so they were taking care of me because I was entertainment for the week. My special was being taped there. But hanging out with Winky, you realize boxers, that's their domain, man. That is their home field. Just like Bengals' home city is Cincinnati, the Cowboys is Dallas. For fighters, the casinos are where fighters get treated like royalty. Because, the casinos never forget those fighters generated so much money at one point for the casino. Like Wink hasn't fought, I went to his last fight in 2012, but he hadn't fought in Vegas in almost 10 years. So this is a couple years ago. But even when we walked around Casino, I was in the movie Casino. Hey, Wink. Hey, man, good seeing you, bud. It was like Goodfellas meets A Bronx Tale meets Casino. It was those type of guys. Wink, baby, wink. And then at one point, we went through like a back area that I didn't know was at the casino. We get on an elevator that you can't just get on. And then we went up to this floor, and I can't even tell you how many floors, but it was like a high-end roller room that is not on the map at the Mandalay Bay. And I was like, what is this? And Wink was like, just telling me, yeah, just a room. He goes, I'm bored. We was in that room for 5 minutes. Wink was bored. And then this is when sometimes you have a conversation with somebody that you're not having the same conversation. So Wink said what he liked to play. And I like blackjack now. But back then I liked craps. I had just learned how to play a few years before I taped this special. So I was really playing craps a lot. When he goes, yeah, man, craps is my game. So we're talking money. He said, what's the most you ever walked away with? And I said, 2,500, and I was lying, completely lying, but I didn't know what Wink was talking about. Like, how much money does Wink bet? So I didn't want to seem like, most I walked away with is like $400 because I gamble in Indiana when I play roulette, or Ohio where you can do $10 a roll. So I told him 25, right? So all I said was 2,500. I'm assuming 2,500. So Wink talks to me. He goes, yeah, man. Because I remember after one of my fights, I told him, hold some of my money from my purse. For those that don't know, a lot of times a fighter's check is called a purse after the fight. So Wink said, I told him to hold some money from my purse, and I'm going to gamble. He said him and Antonio Tarver went to the craps table. He goes, I started with 300. He goes, and I was like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah. He goes, and then, I got it up to 8. He goes, but Tarver got up to 1.2. And I go, oh, okay. I said, 1.2? He goes, yeah. Million. So Winky, after one of his fights, had $300,000 held from his purse so he could play craps with it. So him and Antonio Tarver had their own table, obviously, and when I said 2,500 and Wink said 300, I said, man, we having two totally different conversations right now. I meant $2,500. He started with 300,000. Him and Tarver, one of them got up to 1.2 million. I was like, what? I'm out of this. I was impressed and awe and scared of him at the same time. I was like, whoa. I can't even imagine. But he said it so like nonchalant. Like, yeah, man. At 300. But I tell you, Winky hung out with me when I started Think Like a Man too. And if you know Vegas Memorial Weekend, that's like a party weekend. Like you spend I hung out with Patrick Patterson, he's playing for Oklahoma City now for most of that weekend. And I just met him like a month before in Houston. I met him, and like his crew and me and my guy, Brad, we got along with him. So he came to Vegas Memorial Weekend. He gave me a call. And I hung out with him most of the weekend. And everywhere we went, Pat had like a table, or, we went out to eat. He had reservations. And I said, man, how'd you get all this planned? He said, I hired somebody to do all my event planning for this weekend. Because I've never been to Vegas for Memorial Weekend. I just want to experience it. Which, if you're single, I recommend anybody going to Vegas Memorial Weekend. It's a free-for-all, but it's fun. I wasn't. So I had a tempered weekend in Vegas. I had a good time, but not as good as I could have had. So I hung out with Patrick Patterson a lot, but he was paying everything he did. Like they had everything waiting on him. Now, a couple nights I hung out with Winky. Like during Memorial Day weekend, then Wink would come back later on, and Wink plays a lot of golf, still in Vegas. And I think he gambled a lot too. I don't know anymore, but when he fought. But it was like one time we went out, and this nightclub we couldn't get into, they was like, nope. All of a sudden, Wink shows up. We went through a different door that led us to the back of the nightclub. And then we got a table. And then Wink doesn't drink. So he was like, yeah, man, get whatever you want, man. I got a $2,000 marker. So basically, we could order whatever we want up to $2,000. So we ended up ordering like 2 bottles, some water. And the bottles in Vegas like $500-$600 a piece. So I was just like, Winky is the guy to hang out with in Vegas. That's all I'm saying. the nightclub wouldn't let nobody in. It's shut down, and the lobby was so crowded with people, and everybody trying to get into this nightclub. And then Wink showed up, and everybody saw him. Like, whoop, and then he went around back, went through this side door, went up this elevator. Also, we entered the back of the club. And then the guy walked us to a table. I mean, I was like, okay, Wink. But then I thought about it too. Like, he fought at the Mandalay Bay in the big room, like that holds 12,000, I think. So my show was in the theater that holds 2,500. So I'm thinking, damn, they still remember that Wink generated all that money, because people forget how good Winky Wright was. Winky was one of those guys nobody wanted to fight back in the day. He beat Fernando Vargas pretty easily, but they had so much money for that Vargas De La Hoya fight, they weren't going to let Vargas lose that fight. And that's the first time I saw Winky Wright fight. I go, man, he's handling Vargas. And then they didn't give him the fight. And then he won a couple more fights, and then nobody wanted to fight him. And then Mosley beats De La Hoya. So everybody thinks Mosley's the guy. And all of a sudden, boom, Winky beats Mosley. And nobody wanted to fight Wink. Everybody avoided him. And then Winky handled Felix Trinidad pretty easy. So he's up for the Hall of Fame. I think he got in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Either he was up or he got in. And here's another story that it's mind-boggling, man. I don't know how I got on this Winky rant and didn't think about it. Winky had an advisor named Damien. Damien was a good dude. And I would talk to Damien for hours. I would go to Vegas and just BS with him about, he knew everybody, 50 Cent and Jay-Z and just, he was one of those guys that was so tapped in, especially in the New York scene and the boxing scene. Everybody knew him, but you would never know him. Joe Blow from the public would know him. And man, he got murdered a couple weeks ago in New York. And he had a restaurant / bar, and he was leaving it, and like 12:30 at night, somebody came and just shot him, man. And I don't know if they found him yet, but I remember sending Wink a text asking if he's all right. He's, yeah, I'm good. And just, Damien was such a good dude. Like in boxing realms, everybody knew Damien. And even like in the hip hop realm, everybody knew who Damien was. But Damien and Winky, Damien was all about Wink. Wink was all about Damien. So, man, I hope they catch those guys. Now, I'm going to give my Super Bowl picks every week that I always do, but now we're in the playoffs. So I say I'm going to go with Minnesota and the Patriots till Tom Brady, somebody says otherwise. But I will say Tom Brady needed this week off more than anybody, because he didn't play that great the last couple weeks. And I think it catches up with you, especially in the cold, and especially when, week 11, 12, 13, you're fine. But then, now you're 40. Talk about ending the season strong. The Bengals did something they didn't do all year. They won on the last drive. And the defense stopped the offense on the last drive, because I don't know if you remember the Tennessee game. A.J. Green caught a pass, took it 60, 70 yards. Bengals were up with 4 minutes to go, and the Titans just went down and drove it right down our throats. And we lost. Steeler game. We're up 20-10 going into fourth. Steelers score 3 times, drove it right down our throats. Bengals get the ball back at 3 minutes left. We go 3 and out. Steelers come right down, kick a field goal. I mean, the MO this season is Bengals lose the close games at the end. And the Bengals did something they haven't done all year. After they give up the lead for one, they pretty much led the whole game. And I watched the game. The Bengals kind of dominated for most of that game. Then they give up the lead to the Ravens. And 4th and 12, and they called a perfect play. I mean, when Andy threw it, I didn't know where it was going, but I go, he threw that with a lot of intention. Like, there was no doubt where he was going with the ball. And then Tyler Boyd catches it. I mean, and I'm not even going to say where Tyler Boyd's been. I think they've underutilized him this season. I thought he had a decent rookie year. And then they just stopped. I mean, the offense was terrible most of the year. But they win the game. I couldn't believe it. And now Marvin Lewis is back for 2 years. I just thought he was gone. He's back for 2 years. And one thing he said in his press conference, which I think he wanted to say all year, he goes, we got to get better players. There's certain positions we need better players, AKA offensive line. First thing out the box. And he didn't say draft. He said, we got to get players from other teams. He's basically admitting they messed up last year when they let go of Andrew Whitworth and Kevin Zeitler. So we'll see what happens. The city is like, I'm still indifferent because I still watch them. It's just, It's like one of them Einstein quotes. Definition of insanity. Keep doing the same things and expecting different results. Bengals are insane. Now, the defensive coordinator is going to Oakland, which that's the big news, is they knew they was getting Gruden. And I guess the Raiders, it's not official, but it looks like they're getting the Bengals defensive coordinator, Paul Gunther, which I'm fine with. And then the Bengals retain the offensive coordinator. I'm like, oh, God, guys. We were so predictable. But, you can be predictable as you want. If you got the players, people still can't stop them. I don't know, man. Is it all in my voice? When somebody goes like this, oh, no. That's never a good sign when you're talking about your football team. Hey, Gary, how you feel about the Bengals? I don't know. That's not a good reaction when you're bringing up your hometown team. So, and then all of a sudden we end the season beating 2 teams fighting for playoff spots. What was that? And then the crazy part is, I know you guys have seen it, but some of the best videos is the Buffalo Bills watching the Bengals game. Because 4th and 12, it's the Bengals versus the Ravens. You just know the Bengals aren't going to win and pull it out. And so the Buffalo Bills are sitting there in the locker room with little to no hope. And all of a sudden, Andy throws a bullet and Tyler Boyd scores. And the locker room goes crazy.
Check it. 29, bro. Yeah, right there. What are you doing? What are you doing? 29. Tricky. First down, baby.
And it was so cool to see. And I didn't realize Buffalo hadn't been to playoffs in over 17 years. So I think the Music City Miracle was the last time they were in the playoffs. And we know how that ended. And the fact that Andy Dalton threw that pass, I don't know if everybody knows this, but all of a sudden, all these donations start coming in from Buffalo to his foundation. And it's like last I heard, it was over 170,000, but it was accumulating so fast. By the time this podcast is on the air and you guys hear it, it'll probably be well over 300,000. And the other AFC, the Jaguars, they're the 3 seed, and they're going to play the Steelers. And I would love to see that game, because there was years ago when David Garrard was the quarterback for the Jaguars. He always had the Steelers number. They beat the Steelers pretty handily in the playoffs. And now they're back, and I'm like, they handled Pittsburgh pretty well earlier in the year. Now, granted, Pittsburgh went on a run. It was kind of a wake-up call, honestly, because the Jaguars just ran the ball and beat them up. And then after that, they went on that run. They played the Chiefs next week, and the Steelers have been playing well ever since. But I still think the Jaguars, their DBs can match up well, and I don't know. The difference in that game would definitely be Big Ben and Blake Bortles. It's that'll come down to the quarterbacks. Now the NFC, those are going to be some good games, because one, you got the Falcons, and Falcons got so much talent, but it seems like when you lose a Super Bowl, there's a little hangover, and something's been a little off with the Falcons all year. I can't put my finger on it, but just a little off. It almost reminded me of the time that I played in a celebrity basketball game in Fresno, California back in like 99. And I had to guard Antonio Freeman, who was a wide receiver for the Packers. And he was an active wide receiver, not like retired. He was in his 20s. And everything we did, he just did it a little better. Like, we were running on the court on fast break. He was a little faster than me. We went in for a rebound. He could jump a little higher. I bumped him. I could tell he was a little stronger. But all that little equals a lot when you put it all together. So I don't know what's going to happen. The Falcons, they're going to go to Philly. They might be favored going to Philly. I don't know. Now, granted, I could be totally wrong. I could be like Stephen A. Smith. That guy's never right. He says his picks with so much conviction. As soon as he picks, I want to go to Vegas and just be like, boom. Now, in the NBA, the big news was Isaiah Thomas came back and balled out his first game. 17 points in 19 minutes. And I met Isaiah Thomas for the first time back in October. We went to Gabrielle Union's birthday party in Cleveland. That's the first time I met him. And he's just a nice guy, cool dude, man. Like, I really liked him. Like, I became a real fan of him. And I sent him a message last year. I remember when his sister passed away during the playoffs. And I didn't want him to respond. I just wanted to share a message with him that, him going on the basketball court and playing right after his sister died. And people are like, is he going to play? I go, there's nothing else he wants to do. I guarantee it. It's his escape from reality when you're on the basketball court. Because I remember when my brother died, I had a show the next day at the Imperial Palace Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. And that's all I want to do is get on stage. I'll tell you what, it was the loneliest, worst plane ride. The bad part about it was, not bad part, but the Imperial Palace gave me the presidential pimp daddy, bring the hoes if you got them, do cocaine suite. It just looked like, okay, whoever made this suite, it was made for a party, because there was a big bar. There was a jacuzzi white right in the open. There was 2 bedrooms that attached to the big living room area. There was a big piano. I was like, okay, this is the suite they give to people that just came to party. And here I am, depressed. It's the day after my brother died. And I told my road manager and my opener, Gene, to come up. And they're like, God damn. And I was like, you guys want it? I don't. But that show was a show I'll never forget. I'll never forget that show the day after my brother passed away. Just because I needed it. I just needed that hour and a half of just normal. Just didn't have to think about it. Because I knew as soon as I got on stage, I didn't think about it again. I just sat in my room all day, did the show. I got through the whole show, and at the very end, I broke down. At the very end, right before I said goodnight. Because I wanted to thank them because I guess people were calling, like, is he going to cancel the show? Just like they were asking, is Isaiah going to play? And I know it's not, I mean, it is the same. We both lost a sibling, but I always felt from afar, I knew what he was going through when he played after his sister died. Like, I knew it. Like, granted, it's basketball and I'm a comedian, but I just knew what he was going through, like, in his brain. I didn't have to know him. But then when I met him, I was so happy. He was a nice guy. He was cool. I was like, now I can really root for Cleveland this year. Like, full bore. With him back, woo, Cleveland's got a shot, man. Oh, shit. I just had a brain fart. I had a thought and it left. I got to eat more blueberries. I heard blueberries is brain food. Because, a lot of the NFL players have CTE. And Franco Harris, he's got no signs of it. And I heard, they said, what do you attribute it to? And he said, blueberries. I eat blueberries every morning. When I heard that's brain food, I always try to eat blueberries. And I didn't eat any the last couple of days. And I just had a brain fart. Oh, just remembered it. Oh, see, just talking about blueberries brought my thought back. You imagine if I would have ate them? Oh, my God. Netflix. I'm going to talk about Netflix, man. I saw the movie Bright. That got a lot of backlash. Honestly, I didn't think it was that good. It was just okay to me. I don't look at a movie and look for a social conscience like people do. And they're acting like the aliens are the black people and blah, blah, blah. I don't ever look at it like that. I was like, just a movie. Just was all right to me. I watched it because I love Will Smith. He's one of my favorite actors. So I just watched it. But it was all right. It was all right. But the show that I'm hooked on, and I would say Ozark is the best show that's ever been on Netflix. One of the best shows ever. Can't wait till season 2 of Ozark. But the show that I'm hooked on is Bloodline, the Rayburn family. Because whoever wrote that show came from some dysfunctional shit. You don't just come up with these storylines and these characters without some kind of experience or backstory. You just don't make that up. And I'm writing my life story right now. So I know my family's dysfunctional growing up. It's funny how when you get in a family that's dysfunctional and, somebody acts crazy, doesn't do right in the family, and then the family keeps it a secret, and then they're appalled and offended when somebody talks about when they get older, instead of just owning it and saying, "Yo, yeah, man, we messed up," and you learn from and get better. It's amazing, but this, if you get a chance, man, it starts off a little slow. It's still entertaining, but man, I'm on season 3 now, and it's kicked into high gear. And I don't know if it's coming back for season 4. Like, I'm not all the way through season 3, but I was talking to my sister and her boyfriend, and he goes, yeah, I don't think it's coming back for season 4. And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, if it doesn't, then the show is just ending, they said, because there's a big cliffhanger at the end of season 3. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I'm glad Ozark's coming back. But man, watch that show, Bloodline. John Leguizamo's in it. He comes in season 2. He's great in it. John Leguizamo's great. Like, you really hate him. Man, it's such a good cast. And it's one of those things where one of the brothers, the movie takes place the TV show takes place in Key West, Florida. And the thing about one of the brothers is Australian in real life. So when I heard him get interviewed, I felt the same way I saw Idris Elba get interviewed. The same way when Jax from Sons of Anarchy, I saw him, Charlie Hunnam. I was like, what? Jax? I remember Sons of Anarchy was my show. I remember when the first time I heard Charlie Hunnam talk, I said, no way. And then when I heard him talk and I started watching the show again, I said, oh, now it makes sense, because he struggled with the word family. He would always say, my family. He goes, no, I'm here to protect my family. He always put every initial, my family. And I was like, oh, he has a hard time saying family. No, man, just family. You're crossing my family. So he struggled with that word. Because the thing about the show is there's 3 brothers and a sister. And then there's a mom and dad that are older, but the family has so many dark secrets. And the dad did some dirty shit, especially to Danny Rayburn when he was younger. And the family covered for him, and they never owned up to it. My wife just was talking about this the other day. Was I had an article in BuzzFeed 2 months before my brother passed away, and once it came out, I got a lot of backlash from that side of the family. So my mom brings it up to my wife in front of people. Let's talk about the article. And one of my stepdad's brothers, who I never had a problem with his brothers, they've all been great to me. He said, he just embarrassed the family. And my wife goes, he went to jail. Like, he went to prison. And the article embarrassed the family, but not jail. Okay. When you got dysfunction like that, it's not you're embarrassed that somebody said it. You're embarrassed of the truth. That's what you're embarrassed about, if you want to be honest. My wife said she's a yeller. I've yelled at our kids before. If our kids ever got older and said, yeah, Dad used to yell at us, there's nothing I can do. Yeah. When there was a couple times I've yelled at you. I got to own it. Do I wish I would have? No, but I did. There's been a couple times I acted irrational that I would never act like that in public when you're in your own house. And I think everybody has. Sometimes people push your buttons and you raise your voice and say things. Now, I've never said nothing like crazy, like I hate you or cussed you out or nothing like that. But I've raised my voice when I shouldn't have, yelled when I shouldn't have, and, done some things that if it was on tape, I'd probably be embarrassed by my tone. I'm not putting it off on anybody. I don't know if anybody's parents do it, but I know I've done it. And if my kids ever said anything to anybody, I would just have to own it. Be like, yeah, I did that. I was stupid. I did that. So here's what it is. It's called being an adult. You got to take responsibilities for your actions. And I told my daughter that. My daughter, one time I yelled at the whole family, and I shouldn't have. And, my daughter was hurt by it. She was a little girl. And, I had to go up the stairs and talk to her. And then, I said, I don't want you to ever feel like you have to keep this a secret. If you want to tell somebody, tell them. I go, and if they ask me about it, I got to own it. That's all I can do. And so, she still brings it up every now and then, just throw it in my face. But, I got to own it if it happens. So, all right, y'all. Well, look, I'm sorry I ended this on kind of a low note, but thank you, Dallas, Detroit, and Chicago. Well, Hammond, Indiana, the Horseshoe Casino, January 11th to the 14th. I'm in Baltimore at the Comedy Factory. Always a good time. Congratulations, Marvin Lewis. I don't know what sex tape you got on Mike Brown, but you got something, because you still got a job, man. That's crazy to me. We're just going to ride it out now. See what happens. Netflix, you take nothing else away. If you haven't seen Ozark, watch that first. But if you're looking for a show on Netflix, I highly recommend Bloodline. Trust me, you'll love it. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast.